Hello you guys, happy Thursday. This video is exciting. It's a new chapter for me. Today, I officially will not be at my current day job. In a month and a half, I will be officially full-time social media, live streaming, all the things. And I just wanted to give like a little bit of an encouragement to you guys because I am 29 and I'll be turning 30 this year, which I feel like I just keep saying in like every video I've been doing recently because it's just become my personality that I turn 30. It's exciting, it's crazy, but my 20s has been insane because it's been a time where I've done a lot of different jobs and I feel like I've been in like a crisis because I've never been one of those people who knew what they wanted to do. I was that person in high school who like every friend I had like knew exactly what they wanted to be, or they had something like lined up for them that their parents did that they also felt passionate enough to do, or they wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or a therapist, or they just knew. And I was just never one of those people. So this video is for you if you're one of those people, and I just want to give you a little love note, a little hug through the camera and just let you know that it's okay if you're in a job that you don't feel passionate about right now. If you need to leave that job and you need to try something new, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I think the key for people like us is that it's realizing that maybe you're a hummingbird. And I'm referring to a video that I watched. It was actually a TED Talk. It's all based on a TED Talk that I saw called, I forget like the author, but it was a woman who was saying that there's two different types of people in life: hummingbirds and jackhammers. And that video really resonated with me, and I still didn't really know like what it would mean to me at this point, like in hindsight when I think about it, because basically the jackhammers are the type of people who know exactly what they want to do and they're just on this straight and narrow path and they go for it. They're dedicated, they're determined, and like there's not much hopping around. It's like, this is my path, this is what I'm doing. Hummingbirds are the people that pollinate the world with their many different interests, and they maybe hop from job to job or move careers quickly or whatever it may be. And I think I was one of those people, and that can be very discouraging to be that type of person at times because it can just feel like you don't have your life together, and it can also come with a set of lies about yourself. I thought the worst of myself when I couldn't get passionate about whatever job I was doing. I assumed I was lazy. I assumed that I just was never gonna find something that worked for me. And I just couldn't imagine a world where I found a job that I was passionate about. And so I think I've finally come to this point where I've learned that for me, I am someone who needs to be basically my own boss. I need to create my schedule, create the world I exist in with work, and that actually motivates me and drives me. And I never thought that I would be that person. So, but the key is that I didn't just come up with that out of nowhere. I'm gonna tell you a little list of the jobs that I did throughout my 20s, and I'll tell you what finally led me to that point of realizing. This will be a small anecdote about my 20s, and then you can understand how I got to the point where I'm at now, and maybe it can encourage you a little bit if you're in a time where you're like, I have no idea what I want to do. When I was 20, I believe I was working at a restaurant. It was a breakfast restaurant, and it's really popular like where I'm from, and it was super high intensity environment. I had a boss who was like super intense and actually mean. She was mean to me. And I think it was her way of thinking she was helping me in life. At the end of it all, technically, she did. I had a backbone from that point on, because I realized I don't want anyone to treat me like that or talk to me like that. And the owner of the whole restaurant actually ended up saying to me at one point that she believes that I've lost my sparkle from the time that I started working there. I did, and you guys sucked it out of me. Then at the same time, I worked 2 restaurant jobs. I worked then at a pizza place. It was a super upscale like Italian restaurant, and I loved that job. But I worked those 2 jobs and definitely knew my passion didn't lie in the food service industry. So once I was done doing that, I did do a little bit of like babysitting. And I think at that point I was around 21, 22. And when I was 22 is the time where I basically I got engaged, and when I got married, that was the real like crisis time. As soon I was gonna move to Boston with my husband, and I was like, now I really don't know what to do with my life. Like when I was looking at jobs, I was like, I have no idea what I like to do. So then I really started testing the waters. When I first got there, I worked on apps. I did WAG, so I walked dogs, and I did Shipt, where I shopped for people's groceries. And honestly, I loved that time. The hardest part about it was that I just wasn't familiar with like where I was. And so it was actually kind of fun to like explore the towns that I wasn't familiar with or grew up in. But it was also very hard because like it was a hustle. Like if you've ever worked for an app, it's like you could get a lot of work one day and not a lot of work the next. And so for us, it just didn't work at the time because I needed to have reliable income. So that's when I started applying for jobs again on Indeed at the time. I don't even think I was applying on LinkedIn. So I got a job with a company called MoBizWiz, which is so funny. And I was basically in sales, and I worked in Walmarts and Best Buys, and I did that job where I was that person at a booth, and I was stopping you, asking who you had for cable and internet. And it was interesting. It was a very interesting time. It was exhausting. And that was the type of thing where you did have to want to like own your own business, run your own business to do something like that. It was very like rah, like hype work environment, a lot of bachelors, a lot of people who like didn't have families. Some of them had families, but like it was really good if you were like a frat guy out of college. And I was like a newly married, like young woman. So it was a very interesting job for me. And I quickly realized I didn't want to do that job. I quit the apps again, and I really enjoyed it. I loved walking the dogs. It was so relaxing, and I would find like my regulars, and it was people that would tip me really well. And I actually really liked it. So that was like a fun little memory that I had living in Boston. And then my next job was in like a high-rise building in the city, which I loved going to every day. I had to like take the subway. So I got like the city like work experience. I just remember my playlists were fire. I had my headphones and I was just like walking through Boston, and I was like living my best life. So I did that for a little while. I was a receptionist. So I basically just did these little expense report things, and answered phones, scheduled meetings, and it was honestly a very chill job. They literally had this like pod where you could go make phone calls, and I used to go into that pod and take like 20-minute naps every day, which you definitely weren't supposed to be doing, but I did. I've always been a sleepy girl, and that job gave me the resources to be able to be sleepy, and I don't know what to say other than that. My boss, I don't even know who my boss was. It was such a chill job. So I really enjoyed I technically was like a temp for them, and I was like on contract with them, and I did it for like a little while. But yeah, I ended up leaving that because we were moving. And so I left that job when I moved to come back home to Florida. I came back home to Florida. I worked with my family, and that was an interesting experience. It's hard to work with your family. I love my family, but it's tough because like we are all like can have kind of conflicting personalities where we butt heads, and I was a receptionist there as well. So for me, it was just like a little bit like, it wasn't really fulfilling my passion. And I think they knew that. It was more just like to have a job to get on my feet being back in Florida. And from that, I actually got a job at a fencing company. So fencing, like putting up fences, and I was basically scheduling all of the contractors to go out and like go to their appointments where they would sell fences all day. And it was a pretty boring job, I'm not gonna lie. I think what I started to pick up on from like those past job experiences is that I like a balance of being able to retreat to like a quiet space, but like still having social interaction and not like solely doing computer work all day, because that's boring and drains the life out of me. So that was definitely something that I learned like there. I was like, dang, I need to do something different. And so then I ended up landing like my biggest like adult job that I had. And that was when I turned 24, like right at my mid-20s, and I was getting my first like big girl job with like really good benefits and stuff, and I was gonna be fully remote working from home. So enter the new experience, my working from home era. So this was really interesting. It started off strong. I would wake up every morning, I would get dressed, and I would get on my company calls, and I was learning this role. And then about a year in, I was like, wow, this is a lot. And I think I'm feeling a little bit burnt out. So I started to get very complacent within that job. And I realized that working from home was probably not for me, but it was like such a good income that I was like, I'm just gonna keep doing it. And so I just kept pushing for 4 years. I was 28 when I no longer worked with that company anymore. And I took a couple month break before getting the job that today I'm officially had the conversation with my boss where I will no longer be there anymore at the end of May, and I'll go full-time content creation. But once I was done with that company, and that was in sales support, so I was basically making $50 a day and doing a lot of computer work and stuff. So like another computer job, and it was a lot of remote learning. So I realized I really didn't like that. I knew I didn't want to work from home like that. And at least working for somebody else, not myself. So then I get the job that I have now. And I work at a school, and I do social media for a school. It's very different than any job I've ever done. Work at a school, do social media, very creative. I also do a lot of computer work on our website, which is not my favorite part of it, but I get to be around kids, and there's so many elements to it that definitely made me come more alive as a person. But while doing social media there, and I guess just being in the environment with the different personalities that I'm around, somewhere along the way I realized I am passionate about something. All those other jobs I told you about, I always felt like I was going through the motions, trying to please my boss or trying to just like get through the next day or whatever. Like I would get to a point where I was just done with it. Like I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I think what I've finally come to the point of knowing is that there will be something in your life that finally clicks. I don't know when it will happen for you, but just try to find a little bit of excitement in the process of whatever job you're doing next. It might be the job that ignites some type of passion in you that you didn't know you had. And that's exactly what happened to me. So after all these jobs, I liked little bits and pieces of what I didn't like all of it. And I think I finally realized I think I'll be the happiest if I am controlling my schedule, being my own boss, driving myself, challenging myself, pushing the limits for me. And I think that will be the most fulfilling for me. And so I finally feel like I've gotten to a point where I'm like, oh, I know what I'm gonna do. I know what I'm gonna work for and strive for, and this is gonna be my career. So back in August, I started live streaming on TikTok. So I was able to build a little bit of a following with that. And I also started creating content at the same time. And I noticed as I was working at the school and doing my own social media, I was like, I have a real passion for connecting with people, creating my own content, being kind of my own boss of that part of my life. When I like leave work at the end of the day, like doing my own thing. And I quickly came to realize like I can't do both, because at least for me, I like to take naps. I like to spend time with my family. I've got like my priorities, and it's really hard to do that when you work 8 hours in a day. And when the best time for me to stream is later at night, and then I've got to wake up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym and get to work, like that doesn't work. So I started to have conversations with my husband and just be like, hey, what do we think about me potentially leaving this job and doing social media full time, though it might be like a little gap in our income, but I can still make money supplementing with like streaming and doing TikTok shop. And hopefully one day it'll take off if I'm consistent like I have been. And so that's where I came to. And I just want you out there to know that if you really have no idea what you're doing and you feel lost and stressed out, know that everything I just told you has been a time period of 9 years of my 20s. I have like such a long history of work. All that was like a very consolidated version. And I mean, I've done so much. I've done sales, I've done nannying, I've done reception work, I've done scheduling, I've done social media, I've worked for an app. Like I've done so many different things. And I think it took me 9 years to realize, hey, like I want to be my own boss and I want to structure things myself. And I finally got that drive and that fire like I've been wanting, not in the way that I expected it. So I just kind of wanted to share a little bit of my story and let you know that if you're feeling lost, just find a little bit of hope that you're a little hummingbird and you have to pollinate the environments that you're stepping into until something lights a fire in you and you're ready to step into what is your life calling and your passion. And I'm not even saying that that maybe couldn't change for me, but I think I feel changed as a person of my experiences in my 20s, and all the mean bosses, all the crappy bosses, all the great employees and people I worked with, all the great bosses, all the people around me that had said really great, encouraging things to me. There's so many different people that I met throughout the work sphere that I've been in, and it all shaped me to be who I am, and for me to get to this point where I think I finally figured out what I could do for a career, what I want to stay committed to. And so I just want you to know that it's okay if you're in a little bit of a process. You might not be lazy, you might just be unsatisfied and uninspired by what you're doing. And so maybe it might be time to switch it up and try something different. And now in my mind, it makes a lot of sense when people say like, try everything in your 20s. Like maybe go to a field you just didn't even find yourself interested in, and maybe it'll like awake something up in you, you know, you never know. So try new things. Don't lose hope that your thing is out there. I love you guys. Excited that I get to dive into YouTube a little bit more now, as in the next month and a half I'll be doing this full time. So go follow me over on TikTok. I will be streaming every day, especially as I am going to be doing this full time. Up with me, I'm still here. Like I said, I love doing YouTube. I love hanging out with you guys and encouraging you and sharing my life with you. So I love you guys so much. Leave a comment. Let me know where you're at in your career life and what stage you're at or what job you're working. I would love to know kind of where you're at watching this video. Please remember to subscribe. It means so much to me. I love you guys so much, and I will see you next Thursday. Bye guys.